Have you ever had a moment where the fog lifted and suddenly you couldn't unknow what you just saw? This is that week. Hello, beautiful ones. I'm Cindy, astrologer, mystic, and your guide through the stars. And welcome to Forecasted Shift Timeline. Now, this December 8th through the 14th astrology forecast reveals why your vision is clearing, why your old story can't continue, and just how Neptune going direct changes everything. So let's walk through it together. So after this Gemini full moon, the words won't unsay themselves. Last week we had a full moon in Gemini, and you might still feel its echo in your nervous system. Gemini full moons, they do three things. They flood your world with information. They reveal what's been said and what's been avoided. And they also connect the dots you'd rather keep separate. So think back to last week. You may have had a conversation that went further than usual, or a text, email, or message that changed how you see someone, or a headline or a piece of news that made you think, oh, that's what's really been happening. Or even a sudden realization about how your own mind works, your patterns, your spirals, and your assumptions. And on the collective level, this shows up as more leaks and whistleblowing, stories about misinformation and media narratives being challenged, or even conversations about tech, AI, and the truth in communication. So when this happened in the full moon, Gemini said, here is the data, here are the words, and here is the pattern. But now in week 2, Neptune says, here's what it means. So this week, Neptune stations direct at 29 degrees, the final master degree of the entire zodiac. Since July 4th, Neptune has been retrograde, dissolving illusion, blurring boundaries, and pulling you into a kind of spiritual and emotional audit that you didn't necessarily sign up for. So you may have felt over these months waves of confusion or disillusionment, or old spiritual beliefs breaking down, or even grief over fantasies that never matched your reality. Even a sense of being adrift or far from your old sense of purpose. When Neptune goes direct on December 10th, three things happen. And here's Neptune right here, 29 degrees. Three things happen. The fog stops thickening. So you stop feeling like you're sinking deeper into confusion. 2 is you certain truths crystallize. The emotional story behind 2025's chaos all of a sudden starts to make sense. And number 3, your spiritual direction begins to return. Not in a loud or intrusive way, but as a quiet, unmistakable knowing. So this week, someone says, I finally see that had to end. Or you could say, I can't pretend this relationship is fine. Or you may even say, I know what I want and I know what I can't keep doing. Right? You're going to have these realizations as Neptune goes direct. Now, on the collective level or in society, you're going to see institutions that have been hiding behind spiritual, idealistic, or good intention language. Now, that starts getting questioned. Okay? You'll also see people begin pulling away from fantasy-based promises in politics, in spirituality, and in business. There's more talk also about discernment, not just good vibes, right? Neptune direct isn't just clarity, Think of it as the end of a spell, okay? But here's what most people won't tell you. Neptune isn't turning direct alone. As it stations on the 10th, it begins turning direct. It forms a rare trine to Lilith. And Lilith is at 29 degrees as well, right? So it forms this rare trine to Lilith and Scorpio. And that means the truth doesn't just return, it's rising from the depths. It's like going to feel, oh, that's where you are, right? This is the kind of week where something hidden becomes really obvious, or a pattern you've tolerated becomes undeniable, or a truth you avoided surfaces without drama, or your intuition speaks in a tone that you just can't ignore anymore. Now, on a collective level or in society, Lilith and Neptune look like scandals surfacing, spiritual bypassing being exposed. That's a big one for society. Also, the end of false promises. Also, people finally calling something what it is and not just what they hoped it would be. Now, remember, these things aren't chaos, right? It's just a moment the water returns to stillness. And you can finally see what's at the bottom. That's what's happening as Neptune goes direct with Lilith. Remember, that's this trine. Neptune doesn't move alone. We're going to have, by now, we also have Saturn direct in Pisces right next to it after stationing forward at the end of November. So this week, both of them are speaking to each other. They have been, but now Neptune is going to be direct, so it's a little bit different. So this week, we're going to have Neptune direct, which means it's spiritual and emotional clarity. That's what Neptune direct does. Saturn direct brings structure, boundaries, and reality checks locking in. Like, you cannot deny this, okay? Think of it like this. If Neptune were the moment you realized I've been telling myself half truths, Saturn is the part that says, okay, so what are we going to do differently now? Now, in your life, this can look like making a decision that you've avoided all year. It can also look like finally having the conversation. It can also look like tightening a boundary that's been too soft, too loose. It can also be stepping away from spiritual or emotional bypassing. Or it can also be choosing routines that actually support your nervous system and not just your productivity. Okay, in the world around us, you may see calls for accountability in spiritual, wellness, and artistic spaces. Okay, those are going to be a theme this week. Also, you may see conversations about ethical leadership and emotional responsibility. You may also see more people talking about burnout and boundaries and the truth in relationships. This week is one of those moments where the universe is saying, you can see it clearly now, so what are you going to build with that clarity? All right. Then we have the background rewiring of Jupiter and Uranus retrograde. Behind all of this, Jupiter is still retrograde in Cancer, and Uranus is still retrograde between Gemini and Taurus. So it's in Taurus right now, but it's right at the end, and it's got some Gemini energy, right? Now, they're not the headline this week, so they're not in the forefront, but they're in the background humming, putting it all together. Okay, so Jupiter retrograde in Cancer is asking, what actually nourishes you? Jupiter retrograde is also asking, what kind of emotional life are you building? Another question, does your definition of success feel safe, or does it drain you? These are important questions that Jupiter in Cancer retrograde is asking you, that you need to be very clear and honest with yourself about. So you might be or find yourself rethinking home, family, or living situations. You might be reassessing emotional labor in your relationships. You also might be reviewing what security even means to you right now. Okay? Uranus retrograde continues to disrupt stale thought patterns. It is going to disrupt the patterns that we've had that are not doing well for us, right? Uranus retrograde will also continue to make social media, news, and information feel noisy or even agitating. He will also push you to unsubscribe from mental habits that keep you small. Like really lessening that focus on those bad patterns that you have. We all have, right? And by bad, I mean it's just holding you back from being who you truly are, right? So if you felt overstimulated by information or called to unplug or reduce your input or less tolerant of gossip or half-truths or dramatic narratives, this isn't you overreacting. It's you reprogramming, deprogramming, right? So Neptune direct and Saturn direct on top of Jupiter retrograde and Uranus retrograde, this equals I see the truth and I can't keep feeding my old story. So this week may feel like almost like a soft click in your chest, which is the emotional version of, oh, I get it now, right? You may also feel like a wave of grief for the illusions you needed to survive, but know that you can't carry into 2026. Okay, you may also feel like a mix of relief and discomfort. The relief that you're no longer in the fog, but the discomfort because you now have to respond to what you see. Okay, so you may have a mix of that. You might notice your dreams getting clearer and more symbolic. You also might notice memories resurfacing that now make more sense. You also might notice past spiritual leaders, communities, or teachings falling away. And you might even notice a desire to simplify. Fewer voices, fewer inputs, fewer obligations. Now, this is not the week to rush decisions. It is not the week to bulldoze your feelings. It is definitely not the week to spiritually bypass with love and light. This is the week to listen to yourself deeply. This is also the week to tell yourself the truth. Nobody has to know. You don't have to voice it out loud, but tell yourself the truth. This is also the week to sit with the knowing that is finally arriving for you. And this is the week to say, I may not act yet, but I can't unsee this. So just be truthful with yourself. Okay, so let's talk about how to work with this energy, this week's energy. You're going to need to reduce the noise. And that means less scrolling, fewer conflicting voices, Neptune direct plus Uranus direct retrograde at this trine that they have. That wants clarity, not chaos. Okay. Also, you need to name one illusion you're ready to release. Now, don't force yourself. It's an illusion that you're ready to release. Gently, without shame, just honest naming, okay? Also, you want to let yourself feel the grief. Every illusion you release, remember, it once kept you safe. So thank it and then let it dissolve. You don't need it anymore. Also, you can begin drafting your new story. You don't finalize it yet. You don't have to know all of it, but begin drafting it. This is a Neptune direct week, not the final blueprint week. The details will come. This is not about knowing the ending. This is about direction. If this forecast is landing in your body, and if you're feeling that quiet, undeniable, I can't be who I was at the beginning of this year, if you're feeling that and sensing that, then you don't have to process this alone. This is why I do the inner pathway. This is why we have that inner pathway group. We're walking this same week through a deep dive where we talk about and really understand what Neptune Direct does inside your nervous system and your heart field. Okay, we did a fascia-based embodiment practice last week, and this week we're going to do a breath of direction practice. Okay, this is where we take what we know, we go deeper in the deep dive, and then we take what we know and we embody it and work with these energies. And this is to align your body with your new story. And then we have a guided transmission that we do where we meet the version of you who finally steps into the fire lit path of 2026, because that's coming. So, just to be clear, the forecast will show you the sky. The inner pathway walks you through your part in it. You just have to hit that join button on this video. Okay? Now, beautiful ones, this is the week the fog begins to lift. So, be gentle with what you're seeing. You don't have to act on every realization today. You only have to stop pretending you don't see it. That's it. Just be honest with yourself. So until next time, remember, keep your frequency clear, your choices intentional, and your heart in the flow.